Hello, everyone. This is Friday. So we are going to get into part 3 of the God's Love. Oh, look at this. You guys are going to laugh at this. No ums. I have a sticky note up here in the corner to remind myself to stop saying every other sentence. Okay, so I'm going to strive to do better on that. Okay. We need to go over just a few things. I said, This is going to be harder than I thought. From the first video, I watched that video probably 6 or 7 times before I posted it, and I forgot to actually give you the definitions of apocryphal, and pseudographical, whatever those 2 words were. They actually mean undoubtedly true writings, or undoubtedly truthful writings. That's why I said we can't dismiss them as heretical, fake things, because they are quoted in the New Testament. All right, you have to ask yourself, who said those things? Okay, who is calling them these writings that aren't in our biblical canon anymore? Who's calling those things doubtfully true? Okay, let's keep that in mind. That's just a thought. All right. In the New Testament, we see Jesus talking to his disciples. He's having this conversation in Matthew 24 about what the last days are going to be like on the earth. And he says in that chapter, the days of Noah, as in the days of Noah. And we skim over that, and we come to Luke, and they talk about this. They reference the same thing, as in the days of Noah. If we don't really have the revelation of what it was like in the days of Noah, we're not really going to know what they are talking about. Correct? So that's why we are going to talk about that. But before we do that, I have had people tell me that I'm not going to be here for the tribulation anyway, so why would I even want to care about hearing the things that are going to happen? It doesn't involve me. But I want to ask you a question. If you're one of those people, I want to ask you a question. Do you care about your friends and family that have not come to the Lord Jesus yet? They are not saved yet. Do you care about them? I'm going to bet that you do. I bet you care about their eternity and where they're going to spend eternity. And I bet that if you understood a little bit about the tribulation and what's going to happen during those times, that you would care a little bit more about giving them the gospel of Jesus Christ and being a better light to them. Could you do that if you had a deeper revelation of what God has done for you? Would you be more willing to be that light? Would you be more willing to share Jesus with your friends and family if you had a deeper revelation of that love? It would be easier for you, because it's now easier for me. And I have this longing now to bring in the harvest. This, I get into these places in prayer where the lost get really super heavy on my heart, and that because that's the heart of God. That's the heart of God. That's why He did all of these things. That's why He moved heaven and earth for us, and that's why He did those things. It's because He wanted us to have an eternity with Him. And if we don't have a heart for the lost, if we don't have a heart to go out there and share the gospel of Jesus Christ, we need a better understanding of who He is. I'm guessing there. That's what I needed. And I'm telling you based on my own personal experiences. Okay? So whether you believe in the rapture happening in pre-tribulation, mid-trib, or post-trib, just set those beliefs aside, okay? And just ask yourself those questions. Because I'm going to bet you that, if you really sit there and you think about your friends and family that haven't come to the knowledge of Jesus Christ yet, it'll move you. It'll move you to find out a little bit if what they're going to have to go through in the tribulation, okay? Just something to think about. My own experiences, I just want to tell you about my own experiences for a minute, about how I came into this deeper revelation of God's love for me, okay? I know this lady who is a prayer intercessor. Wonderful, wonderful lady. And in prayer for months, she kept hearing the Lord say, as in the days of Noah, as in the days of Noah, as in the days of Noah, over and over and over again. So she got the scriptures out and she started reading about the days of Noah. And God led her to a deeper revelation of that. After she came to this revelation of the days of Noah and the things that we're going to go over, there was another intercessor prayer that called her and was talking about the same stuff, about hearing as in the days of Noah. And they got to talking and discussing stuff, and the intercessor posed the question, why are the prayers and intercessors the only ones that are hearing this and coming into this deeper revelation of what happened in the days of Noah? Kind of a good question. I think a lot more people than we think are coming into this revelation, because all you have to do is go on YouTube and Google as in the days of Noah, and you're going to find a slew of videos out there. I mean, there's just a lot. Don't do that, because some of those are just way off, okay? I want you to get a foundation of what the scriptures say, and we're going to go over some of the things the Book of Enoch says, and along with the scripture, okay? We're just going to use the Book of Enoch as a historical text, and I just want you to think and have this thought. These are things to think about, okay? Just to pose the question. I don't want you thinking that I'm trying to change your beliefs in Jesus. I just want you, I want to engage your thinking. I want you to do your own research. I want you to research this out yourself and vet this out yourself. Don't just take everything I say as the truth, okay? All right. Myself, I was praying for wisdom and revelation, to know him better. I had a frustrated view of who God was. I saw things in the Old Testament that weren't the same in the New Testament. And I saw the Word contradicting some of the things that I was reading in the Word. I saw a different God in the Old Testament than I did the New Testament. And I knew I wasn't seeing something. I knew there was something there. And so I went to prayer and I just started asking God for wisdom and revelation and the knowledge of him. I wanted to know who he was and why he did the things in the Old Testament the way he did them. Because in the New Testament, you see differences. And this is before Jesus even died and resurrected, okay? So what he led me to was the days of Noah. That's the first thing he led me to. And that's how I came into this this revelation of what happened in those days. Imagine a puzzle. You're putting together a puzzle. And somebody is mailing you a piece of the puzzle every week or every day. And you're just setting the pieces of the puzzle out, right? And as one fits together with the next, you're putting it together. you don't really have a clear picture. You don't have a picture to go by about of where, what this puzzle is going to portray a picture of. But as each piece comes, you're getting a bigger revelation, a bigger picture of what this puzzle is. That's what it was like for me. That's how God led me. It was a piece of the puzzle, one piece at a time. And with the whole picture in place, it helped me understand the Word better. It helped me understand who He was. It helped me understand my own experiences that I was having in prayer, in my dreams and visions. It just really helped me feel like I wasn't crazy and I wasn't going out of my mind. Okay, we'll talk about that later. But that's how it happened for me. And so that's what I wanted to say. And also, I have this note up here. The Naraland scriptures that I took off of naraland.com. Okay, I realize that that's a forum and that's an open forum, and anybody and everybody can post things on that website of whatever they want to. It's not just about religion, it's about anything. And the only reason why I didn't actually go there to search things out, okay? I simply, the questions that I had, I went online and I started doing some research. And that website with somebody's post, the forum, popped up as in the search engine for the question that I had asked. Now I don't remember what question it was, but that's how I came across those scriptures, and I am by no means saying that you need to get on there and search anything out, okay? Just wanted to make that clear. So anything else that I have, sorry I said it again, anything else that I will quote, I will let you know. And we're going to go over some of the things that we see happening in science today that is just like what was happening in the days of Noah. Okay, so let's get started. Genesis 6, okay, verse 1. When men began to multiply on the face of the land and daughters were born to them, the sons of God saw that the daughters of men were fair, and they took wives of all they desired and chose. Then the Lord said, My spirit shall not forever dwell and strive with man, for he also is flesh, but his days shall be yet 120 years. There were giants on the earth in those days, and also afterward, when the sons of God lived with the daughters of men, and they bore children to them. These were the mighty men of old, men of renown. The Lord saw that the wickedness of man was great in the earth, and that every imagination and intention of all human thinking was only evil continually. And the Lord regretted that he had made man on the earth, and he was so grieved at heart. Okay, so here we have this term in verse 2, sons of God. And they saw that the daughters of men were fair. Okay, so the daughters of men is pretty self-explanatory, but here's where the controversial part comes in. The sons of God. Some people suggest that these were just regular men who took the daughters of men. Some people suggest that these were angels, and there are some other theories out there. If you research this out yourself, you'll see how kind of crazy and outlandish some of these theories get. I personally believe that I have my own arguments against them being regular men for two reasons. It says, there were giants on the earth in those days and also afterward, when the sons of God lived with the daughters of men, and they bore children to them. These were the mighty men of who were old, men of renown. I have never seen a seed of a man, and the seed of a human woman make a giant. I've seen some tall people. I've seen some 7 feet tall people, but I have never seen them making giants like what they have talked about in the Bible. Okay, these people were huge people. Never seen that happen. Number 2 of my argument is this. Why would God see men taking wives and having mixed marriages, as many as they chose, as to be so evil that he would have to destroy the earth with the flood? Nowhere. I mean, we see those things happening in the Old Testament and the New Testament. People having mixed marriages and then having multiple wives. And we don't see him destroying those places with a flood or wiping out the whole face of the earth. Just put it that way. Now, we see him destroying some things because of perversion and evil. But I don't, that's my argument. All right? Now, we're going to the sons of God. If you have a Strong's Concordance, this is number 1121, and this is translated as B'nai Ha-Elohim. Literally translated means sons of God, and it's talking about the angels. Anytime you see this word, it is in the Old Testament, it is translated as literally sons of God, angels. Now, we are going to go into Enoch 6, verses 1 through 8, and we're going to read what was going on, okay, how this happened. And it came to pass, when the children of men had multiplied, that in those days were born unto them beautiful and comely daughters. And the angels, the children of the heaven, saw and lusted after them, and said to one another, Come, let us choose us wives from among the children of men, and beget us children. So they wanted children. And Simjaza, who was their leader, said unto them, I fear ye will not indeed agree to do this deed, and I alone shall have to pay the penalty of a great sin. And they all answered him and said, Let us all swear an oath, and all bind ourselves by mutual imprecations, not to abandon this plan, but to do this thing. So they're saying, Simjaza says, hey, I don't want to pay the penalty of everyone's sin here, because this is a sin. And they all bind together and say, hey, we're in this together, let's do this thing. Then swear they all together and bound themselves by mutual imprecations upon it. And they were in all 200, who descended in the days of Jared on the summit of Mount Hermon, and they called it Mount Hermon, because they had sworn and bound themselves by mutual imprecations upon it. And these are the names of their leaders. I am probably going to butcher every one of these names, but I want to mention something right here. Pay attention to these names, because if you know anything, or if you have paid attention, or if you have kids, if you watch football, you don't have to watch TV shows, but if you watch football or sports, you've probably seen some of these shows that are coming on TV. There have been movies made about fallen angels. There have been TV shows made about fallen angels. There's now a show on TV called Lucifer, and it's about Satan coming to earth because he wants to help people and be good. Can you see the deception playing out in that one? But there has been a surge lately of interest in fallen angels. And in the movies past, you might recognize some of these names. Hollywood does not come up with these things on their own, okay? They're smart. They know what they're doing. So these were the leaders of the 200 that fell. And please forgive me, because I know I'm going to butcher these names. Samlazaz, their leader. Araklabah, Ramil. I've heard that name in a movie. Kokablel, Tamiel, Ramiel, Danel. I've heard that movie. Ezekiel, or that name, Barakwijal, Azael, Aramos, Badarel, Ananel, Zaquiel, Samsapil, Sadarel, Terrell, Jomjael, and Sariel. You might recognize some of those names. I've heard them mentioned in movies, okay? Some of you, I'm not familiar with Harry Potter. I didn't watch Harry Potter. I kind of banned that from my house. But I'm wondering if any of those names were in there, kind of stuck in there. I don't know. Could be interesting. All right, so Enoch 7. 1 through 6 tells us a little more about what was going on. And all the others together with them took unto themselves wives, and each one chose for himself one. And they began to go unto them, and to defile themselves with them. And they taught them charms and enchantments, and the cutting of roots, and made them acquainted with plants. And they became pregnant, and they bare great giants, whose height was 3,000 ells. Okay, that's way higher than 7 feet. Who consumed all the acquisitions of men. And men who could no longer sustain them, and when the men could no longer sustain them, the giants turned against them and devoured mankind. And they began to sin against the birds and the beasts and the reptiles and the fish, and to devour one another's flesh and drink the blood. Then the earth laid accusation against the lawless ones. So what are they doing? They are, in a sense, altering the DNA of every living thing that God created and placed on this earth for us to have rule and dominion over, right? So when it says, and the Lord regretted that he had made man on the earth, and he was grieved at heart, in verse 6, this is why. Okay, in verse 5 it says, the Lord saw the wickedness of man was great in the earth, and that every imagination and intention of all human thinking was only evil. These giants that the sons of God and the daughters of men produced are translated as, let me find it here, the Nephilim. These are the Strong's number 5303. Okay, Nephilim, however you want to pronounce it. These were what have become known as the Nephilim. They were evil. They were dead souls. They were part terrestrial and part celestial. Okay? And which was a no-no. Which is a big no-no. We don't mix seed. In 1 Corinthians 15, 14, or 38 to 40, in the King James Version, this is what it says. But God giveth it a body as it hath pleased him, and to every seed his own body. All flesh is not the same flesh, but there is one kind of flesh of men, another flesh of beasts, another of fishes, and another of birds. There are also celestial bodies and terrestrial bodies, but the glory of the celestial is one, and the glory of the terrestrial is another. In Leviticus, when they passed down the Levitical law, they specifically had things in that law that said, a kangaroo does not need to be mating with a lion, okay? Do not mix that seed. A horse does not need to be mating with a human, okay? A fish don't need to be mating with anything else, okay? If you think about those things, let's read that again. Because I want you to pay attention to some of the things that they were doing, and I want you to think about what is going on today, all right? They taught them charms and enchantments, the cutting of roots, which basically means that they're bringing a seed of something in the ground with a seed of another thing in the ground, splicing them together, right? And they're cutting the roots and they're doing other things with them. Made them acquainted with plants. They became pregnant, and they bare great giants, the Nephilim, whose height was 3,000 ells. They were so big, they consumed the acquisitions of men. They ate all of their stuff that they produced on the farmland. It wasn't enough to sustain them. Their animals and their flocks weren't enough to sustain them. And so when the giants couldn't get enough, they started devouring men. They started devouring the humans. And they began to sin against the birds and the beasts and the reptiles and the fish. It's pretty self-explanatory. And they began to devour one another's flesh and drink the blood. Okay? We see some of those things going on today. I think of, charms and enchantments. I mentioned Harry Potter earlier. Think about how big Harry Potter was. The spell casting, the witches, okay? The vampires with the drinking of the blood. Think of how many vampire movies have came out, how many vampire TV shows and books are out there, drinking the blood. There are, bestiality. We have people petitioning the court now so they can marry and have sex with their animals. Disgusting. So if anybody ever, has a question as to whether it goes against God's law, look in the Word, look in Leviticus, look in the New Testament. All right? Okay, but here's some things that I want to bring to your attention about, them altering the DNA, all right, of every seed. Here's a huge debate. All I have to say is GMO. Stands for genetically modified organisms. All right? That's a huge debate on the internet right now and all over the world. I don't even have to show you any headlines. You can go into the grocery store and it says non-GMO because that's a big thing with people. They don't want genetically modified things that mankind has modified from its original state. The big health issue is that our bodies do not recognize that stuff and it's making people sick, right? Huge debate. I won't even bring you any headlines for that because I don't need any for you guys to make that connection. Here's the other one. We're going to have to cut it off, but here's the other one I want you to see. This was on my news feed a couple of days ago, and if this didn't come up at the correct time, I don't know what was. The headline on this was, girl has 3 parents. What? Yes. Girl has 3 parents, all right? They have taken, this is her. That's her. She looks pretty normal, right? She's a cute girl. And she may be a normal person, But the way that they created her was by putting 3 parents' DNA together, all right? Now, that should tell you something. She's from the UK. Her name is Alana Saarinen. Okay? And this is what the bold print says. Alana loves playing golf and the piano, listening to music, and hanging out with friends. In those respects, she's like many teenagers around the world. Except she's not, because every cell in Alana's body isn't like mine or yours. Alana is one of a few people in the world who have DNA from 3 people. So it's not like, my son having DNA from his father and from me. She's got it from 3 people. And let me just show you. Let me show you what that little picture that was on here. Okay, here's the method Okay, this is kind of going to show you, there was like 3 methods. But this is just to kind of give you, okay, this little thing right here, all right? Oh, wait, over here. This is the mother's egg. This is the donor egg. They removed the mother's nucleus and the donor's nucleus removed and destroyed. Then they put the mother's nucleus in the donor egg. And then the egg is fertilized with the father's sperm. See? That's how they got the DNA from 3 people. That's method 1. Then they have another method. And I know we're kind of running long, but I wanted you guys to see this because this is science. This is science actually playing this out in front of our eyes, all right? This isn't anything, I'm not making this stuff up. Okay, can't see that. I need to get this right here. Method 2, okay, the mother's egg fertilized by the father's sperm, and the father and the mother's sperm is removed, and they're put into the donor embryo, okay, because down here this is the same. The donor's nucleus, the donor egg fertilized by the father's sperm, okay, the donor's nucleus is removed and destroyed. So you got the donor's nucleus and the parents, or the donor's embryo. This is the embryo. These are the nucleus, this is the embryo. You got the donor's embryo right here with the parents' nucleus, the mother's and the father's nucleus inside the embryo. So that's how they're getting 3 parents' DNA. And her mom had some issues with having some siblings that weren't healthy. And, you can go on there and you can read that article. All you have to do is Google girl with 3 parents, and then it'll come up. Very interesting. But there's a lot more headlines out there that we could go over, but I just wanted to bring that one up to you because it was new. And we're going to cut it off right there, and we'll continue on with part 4 here. All right? We'll see you in a little bit.